Hello, here we are with another video, another testimony. This is my wife Danielle. My name is Eric, and if you've not seen my previous video, the first video I put out on Survivor's Talk, it was my testimony about drug addiction to pain pills and everything that I was going through, and just a lot of things that I needed to put out there and that I needed to share, because there's people out there that are going through some of the same things. And so today with my wife, I want to talk with her about what she went through during the time that I was addicted to pain pills. And I'm sure that some of the things that you are going to share be about hurts and pains and things that I caused. But I'm glad to say that those things are under the blood of Christ. My wife has forgiven me, and it's been a long process, but we are at the point to where we no longer can hold in testimony. And during this time of the pandemic with the COVID-19 virus, people are at home, and a lot of people are just either bored or depressed or whatever it may be. We just want to put out videos to encourage people, to have them see that God truly is real, that He does help, that He is a deliverer of not only people addicted to pain pills, but spouses and family members and friends that were hurt and affected by it. So I want to talk with my wife and just have a conversation just about whatever's on her heart, whatever she wants to share about that time, and just go from there. So this is my wife Danielle. We've been married for almost 17 years, and it's been an adventure. It's been a ride. We've had obviously some ups and downs, and
almost 18 years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because Ethan's gonna be 17. Yeah, so I'm wrong. Usually I have it right, but here my wife is correcting me. Thank you. I appreciate that. But anyway, so what do you want to? Let's see how we can start. How about, how did you know something was going on? What made you think that that I could be addicted? Because I had never, in the like 7 or 8 years that we already had been married, nothing like this was going on. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. I did nothing like that. But it was new to me, being addicted to pain pills. I had never been addicted to them before, and now, to be honest with you, I was caught off guard. So what made you think it was possible, or how did you know?
At the time, you were pretty open about taking pills, but
Me, because I had surgeries.
You had surgeries,
Okay.
and then I knew that some people would maybe lend you some, or so I kind of knew that was going on. But then when money started to come up missing, things started to come up missing, I thought something is not right, because I would ask you about certain things and you would say no, but something in my gut told me there's something not right.
Yeah.
And so I remember one day, I knew you had left probably to go get pills. You had been gone for a while. I thought something's not right. I looked online and I Googled pain pill addiction or addiction and the signs of it. And when
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah.
So I'm even learning things new. So.
And so when I seen the signs, I was able to check off every last one of them.
Wow.
And so I sat there and I was in denial. I thought, okay, this is weird. And I was new to addiction. I didn't know how serious it was. I didn't know what addiction would cause people to do and how far they would go. So I was in denial. I thought, there's no way my husband could be addicted, because besides you lying, you were very loving. You were a great husband, great father. We were going to church. Life seemed okay besides that
What were
gut
the
feeling I would get.
What were the things that you checked off? Like, what were some of the signs?
Lying for one of them.
Yeah.
Stealing.
Meaning
Which
like taking our own stuff back.
taking our own stuff back, selling it, whatever he had to do. And even though I would ask you about, did you sell this, and you would say no, and I had no choice but to agree, because how can you prove that somebody is lying to you? You can't. So, so I thought, okay, that's got to be it. And money was coming up missing. You were gone for long periods of time. I knew that you were taking the pills regularly. I just didn't know how much. And you know, if you guys want to watch his video, he talks about how much he started taking. At one point, he gets up to 50 Vicodin, right?
Yeah.
50 Vicodin a day, every single day. So it was a lot. I did not know how much he was taking, but I knew something was off. So that's kind of how I knew.
I remember when you asked me about it. We were sitting in our car outside of our house. We just got back from the store or something, and you brought up that your dad said to you, "Hey, I think something's wrong with Eric. I think he's, taking probably more than he's supposed to be," or basically hinting around, "Hey, I think he's addicted."
Yeah.
And you asked me, "Do you have a problem? Are you addicted to pain pills?" And I remember at the time, I remember vividly. I remember we were sitting in the Black Grand Prix. I remember it was sunny out that day. And when you asked me, I remember thinking, I can easily say no here, and you would have to take that. But the bigger part of me wanted to tell you, yeah, because I wanted out. I wanted to get help, but I was scared to bring it out to you. I didn't want to lose you, obviously. But I remember telling you, yeah. And as soon as I said yeah, you got emotional and you were crying, and you basically asked me, how did this happen? And you and I just had a conversation, and I'll never forget it. It was such a impactful time and a memory that I'm never gonna forget. So when I told you yeah, what was some of your first thoughts? What did you think? What did you want to do? What did you think was gonna happen after that?
I was so mad, because all along I knew something was up, and then for you not to tell me when I was there just to help, it just made me so angry, because I felt like, I don't know, it almost made me feel like you didn't love me enough to trust me that I would be by your side to help you through that, so I was really angry. I was really angry that I could see the decline spiritually with you, and that's what made me really angry too, because prior to that, I don't know, I felt like we were so involved with ministry, things were good. I loved that you were teaching the young boys,
treasure hunters.
Yeah. And I love seeing you up there encouraging people when you would speak, and hearing those words really made me mad. And also I just thought, how could this be? When you look at somebody who seems very spiritual, you just never know what somebody's going through. And you see them up there, and you feel like life is good, and you feel like that would never happen to me. And then you hear those words, it was crushing. I felt like my whole world literally fell apart at that moment. So.
Yeah, I could tell, because your reaction, and the way you reacted was, I expected it, but I didn't want to hurt you.
Yeah.
And, being new to like that kind of addiction. I didn't know
Yeah.
what how things were going to turn out. I didn't know what was going to happen, and I knew that you loved me. I knew that you would be there, but I didn't know what there was.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about rehabs. I ended up going to
I don't think neither one of us knew
anything.
anything about this journey. So
I know I almost felt like, okay, now that I'm confronted about it, I could just give it up.
no,
And
that didn't happen.
I couldn't give it up. I was powerless, and I felt like no matter how much I prayed,
Yeah.
no matter how much I would ask friends or anything, I couldn't just give it up.
Well, the good thing is you agreed to go to rehab that very first time after you told me. It took
Yeah.
a good week to
Yeah,
convince
yeah.
you, but you eventually went, and
Which is my first time out of
the first time,
I think like the 4 or 5 times I went.
yeah, and that first time I remember you only went for 3 days, and I remember your
Yeah.
counselor called me
Yeah.
and said, your husband is so amazing and he's so sweet and kind, and I really don't think he has a problem, so we're going to go ahead and send him home. And I thought, wow, this is great. I didn't know that people who have an addiction problem will manipulate, and they're very good at it, and my husband was very good at it.
Well, I could
So-
say that the reason why she said that was, I didn't know that taking pain pills would eventually lead to people taking heroin, and that scared me.
Yeah.
And I, by the way, I never did heroin. I never injected heroin. I never snorted heroin. I never had it in my possession. I never bought it. It was something I never did. And to be honest with you, I'm so grateful to God because somebody taking 50 pain pills a day and taking OxyContin as well, like the next step was heroin, and I never took that next step. But I remember telling her how scared I was, and I can't believe like this is what it leads to.
Yeah.
So that was part of the main reason why she called and said basically she's scared, but also that like she saw the spiritual side to me. And so that was, I was supposed to stay for, I think
21 days.
21 days. And I was, by my third day, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And so,
So I remember picking you up, and I was so happy. And we got home, and as soon as we got home, you left.
well, because I worked for a company that owed me money.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go get that money. And it was, I remember it was $50. And I remember telling you, hey, I'm going to go get it, which I did.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to go get it, the guy's like, well, where were you? And, how come you didn't show up? Now you're here, you want the money I owe you. And, I honestly, I didn't tell him I went to rehab. I didn't tell him I had a problem, because if I did, he never would have given me the money. But I got the money. I immediately went and bought pills.
Yeah.
Came back, told you that the guy didn't want to pay me.
Yeah, I remember that.
And which is a complete lie.
We had a lot of times like that.
A lot.
Your check was lost in the mail, or
Yeah.
There's a lot of different reasons people who are dealing with drug addiction, they'll come up with every story you can imagine just to manipulate their loved ones. So,
And it wasn't to ever hurt you.
no.
It was, I wanted to hide it. But I know that by manipulating you and using, things that I knew I could manipulate you with, caused you to take everything personal.
Yeah.
And I wasn't ever trying to purposely hurt you, even though I knew that what I was doing was hurting
Yeah.
you. But like I said, addiction had turned me into a person that I never thought that I could become, or I just didn't realize like how bad it really was and how bad it was getting.
Yeah.
Even though I could see how bad it was,
Yeah.
it was like I was in denial about how bad it was.
Yeah.
Because I wanted you and my family and God and church and all my friends but I wanted addiction as well. But I will say that when I realized that this was a problem, I didn't do anything ministry. I did not
Yeah.
teach any class. I didn't do sound. Like, I completely withdrew from all that stuff because I just didn't want to. I know this is hypocritical. I didn't want to be fake when it came to church, even though I was being fake with you and with my family. And it sounds ridiculous, but it just goes to show you how bad addiction can change people. How one thing could be good, but the other thing not good.
Yeah.
And I also knew that I couldn't lie to God. I couldn't, even to Pastor Walker, like, no matter what I did, there'd be so many times that I wouldn't say anything, and he would bring out and says, "You did this, didn't you? And you did this," and I'm like, and I never told anybody, not even my wife.
Yeah.
Not even, I don't even think to the Lord, but the Lord was telling Pastor Walker.
Yeah.
And that was when I really knew that I could trust Pastor Walker, but it also was I need to stay away from him as much as possible because he was just going to call me out on some things, and obviously tell my wife and have these meetings and things like that, which got heated at times. So I just I hid so many things from you. So what was we separated twice, 3 times.
I think 3 times.
Yeah.
I think we separated once for a month.
Yeah.
I think I went and lived with my parents for like a month. Yeah.
Something like that.
Something.
I remember the
can't
second
remember.
time was a year because the Lord told me
Yeah, it was.
it was going to be a year, and then the third time He said it's going to be 2 years, and it turned out to be 2 years. And to think that I lived through all of that, like meaning like I was alive.
Yeah.
So, our kids were really young at the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we had 2 kids, Ethan and Sariana, and I think Sariana was maybe 3 and Ethan was
5.
like 4
or 5,
and a
something
half,
like that.
5. Yeah. So.
I remember being in rehab one time, and it was Sariana's. You guys did Sariana's birthday, which happened to be delayed. Like, it was already past her birthday. And the reason I was delayed was because of me, because I was taking money,
Yeah.
Taking rent money. And I remember the landlords showing up and saying, "Where's the money?"
Yeah.
And I just...
It was, really frustrating because the whole time you would have a job, you wouldn't have a job, and I would have this job continuously, and it was a measly little Starbucks job. I did not make a lot of money, so everything I had, I was trying to pay rent, pay bills, and here he was telling me he was gonna pay the rent or he's gonna take care of it. Never happened, and I just felt like I was running on this uphill treadmill, never coming down. It was frustrating. So I was just angry about that too, because here we are having to move all the time, and the kids having to see this, and they didn't understand. I couldn't tell them what was going on.
Yeah.
And then when you'd be gone for a long time, I'd have to tell them, well, your dad's sick, he's not feeling well, let's pray for him, and they were so strong because they never Ethan was a little more emotional.
Yeah.
But they really stuck through it. I'd have to drop the kids off at my parents' and leave them for 4 days, and I would cram all my days together to work, get it out of the way, so then I could just go pick up the kids again and be with them. And that was so hard for me. I would cry every time I dropped them off because I just didn't think they deserved to live like this. They were happy because they got to go to Grandma and Grandpa's, but that's not what I wanted. That was not what I wanted at all. So that was frustrating.
Yeah, now looking back, even though I was doing wrong, the Lord always took care of you and the kids.
He did.
Whether it was somebody to be able to watch the kids, or you got the job, eventually working at the hospital.
Yeah.
And you know, you have been consistent and faithful. From the first time we got married, or from the very beginning of when we got married, through all of that, even up to this day. But looking back, you know, I would, we would go long distances or long times, like, you know, weeks or months without seeing each other. And, you know, I remember calling up to your job, and you would either answer or somebody else would, and basically just say, I don't want to talk to you, or hang up, or she's not here.
I had to stop that emotional attachment because, you know, I had to just focus on myself and the kids. You know, having to deal with hearing you give me spiels, you know, about how you're going to do better. Or what I heard a lot was, you don't love me. And I thought, that is not the truth. That is not the truth. And it would frustrate me.
Because I was trying to pull at your strings. I'm trying to get you to,
yeah,
to still, I wanted to hear that you love me.
Yeah.
I knew you did, but I wasn't seeing it. But the thing is, I was causing you to not show it to me anyway. So, once again, manipulation.
Yeah. Yeah. So I, you know, I just had to separate myself emotionally, so I just wouldn't be affected, you know, because I really did care. I really did love you.
Yeah.
And I felt lonely. I felt so lonely and crushed. And honestly, the whole time that we were gone, the whole thing, even when I was with you, all I knew was to just run to God. I feel like I was the closest to God during that time than I had ever been in my entire life. And He really, really covered me. He protected me emotionally. I mean, some of the things that you would say to me, I feel like I would cry about them. But knowing my personality, normally I'd probably hold on to that, you know, and maybe act out. And at first maybe I did with you, you know, but after a while I remembered the things you would say, they just kind of like bounce off, you know, and I knew, okay, God is covering me, and wow, I could see the progression and how He was making me stronger. I never thought that I could, at the time I was a single mom and I was the only one providing. I was trying to figure out everything, get the kids to school, do all that. I had no idea. So, single moms, I really feel for you. It's hard. It's really hard. So, during that time, I lost my train of thought.
Well, let me ask you. So, you know, I went to jail twice. The first time it was because I had unpaid tickets. And I had to pay like $300. You know, I had paid only paid $100 at that point. So, you know, they impounded my car. You know, I mean, it was a big deal. And I'm like, okay, I went to jail for 25 days, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. I'm not going to go back to that. And the day I got out, I went right back to it.
Yeah.
And it was because I just was, once again, I'm going to do it by myself.
Yeah. And you went back to old habits too.
Yeah.
Like, he would always go to live with his mom every single time. That's the only person who accepted him back, which I give it up to her, you know. That's mama's boy. She loved him. She did not want to see anything.
She enabled me.
But she was enabling him.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can't imagine if it were my son. I want to say that I'd kick him out and tell him to go fix yourself, but, you know, I don't know.
It's a mother's
I would
love.
not want my son to die, and then I would feel so guilty. So I'm sure she was going through a lot of emotion as well, you know.
Yeah, which I had to, you know, at the end, I told her I was sorry and asked her for forgiveness, and she forgave me. And, you know, had she early on said what you just said, I'm done with this, go fix yourself, you know, maybe I would have changed, maybe not. It's not to bash her or she's not responsible for anything. I made every choice myself. You know, she just enabled me, and I knew it. And like, yeah, I took advantage of it, and I hate it. I hate to know that because, you know, I love my mom, and she just, like you said, I couldn't imagine being in that position because I don't know that I would tell my kid that, you know. So it was very hard on her. It's hard on you guys, you know, you and the kids. So let me
So
ask
yeah,
you.
you never changed any of those.
Right. Every time I had a break from it, I wouldn't make the change that I had to after that, which in the end I did. You know, the last time I went to jail, I said I got out. I gotta go find a place that I can live that would, you know, help me in the support system, and I did that. So, you know, I made those changes at the end. Had I done it earlier, obviously, you know, things would have turned out better, you know, early on, but you know, I didn't. So let me ask you a question. When you found out that, you know, I obviously went to jail the first time, but the last time that I went, you found out that I got caught with pills.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had stated in my previous video that when I went to court, I thought I was going to get out of jail because I had never been in trouble. It was my first offense. They only found 5 pills, which wasn't a lot. But when I get to court and the judge says I got this letter, and it's basically saying he needs help, he's been doing this, please keep him in there. I knew it was you, and I had so much anger towards you, but the fact of the matter was, I was angry at myself because I got myself in that position of being a drug addict. Is you always want to deflect. You always want to say it's somebody else's fault, somebody else's problem, I'm doing this. You said this to me, which caused me to take pills, or you did this to me, or you didn't do this for me. And, you know, so now I'm taking this stuff, and if something happens to me, it's your fault. It's never the person's fault that's not taking the pills. The person that's the drug addict that is going through all that stuff, it's their fault, it's their choice, and they're making a decision, a conscious decision, to do everything that they're doing. And it was never your guys' fault, no matter what is said. So when you found out that I was there last time, we already had been separated for a while at this point.
Like a year maybe?
Yeah. So why even write the letter? Why even go to that length of, you know, asking the judge to keep me in?
Well, this is a whole bunch of things really, but so that year when you went to jail in September or August.
Yeah, because it was right
around August.
Ethan's birthday. Yeah.
Well, earlier in the spring, you and I started to kind of talk a little bit more. You started coming around a little bit more, and I thought, okay, maybe, you know, he's doing better. You went back to your mom's. You were at your sister's this time.
No, it was at my mom's.
Oh, you were at your mom's. Okay.
Because we had planned the Disney vacation.
Yep. So you were at your mom's. We had planned the Disney vacation. It was already paid for, and I thought, okay, great. Well, that summer was a really great summer for the kids. We had a lot planned. They were busy. And what happened, how I found out, was
It's embarrassing, but I get it. You should tell it. I mean,
okay.
I'm sorry. I just. So
I know.
Stupid. It was so fun.
Well, at the time I had my own place. Well, Eric found a way to get in there while I was gone at camp with the kids.
I broke into her apartment.
Yeah, I hate saying it, but it's the truth. And he ended up taking a camera lens from me. So when I got back from camp, it was Father's Day. I remember it. And we had planned a Father's Day dinner. He came over. He was cooking it because he cooks everything. But so he was cooking it, and I went to get my camera out because I was going to take some pictures, and my lens was gone. And I thought, okay, it doesn't just walk away. I haven't even been home. And I said, my lens is gone. And I remember it got quiet.
I was cutting up chicken, and I said, Well, why would it just be gone?
Yeah.
I've not been in here. You and I have been here together. I've not been in here alone, which was a lie.
Yeah.
And I basically put the knife down. I got my shoes on,
And he walked
and I walked out.
And I thought, okay,
Yeah.
you know, and of course he tried saying, I can't believe you're gonna do this on Father's Day, you know, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I am so over this
Once
right
again,
now.
deflecting.
And so, you know, I was finally just done. And so I knew we had the Disney vacation coming up, and we were leaving on September 1st. And that's when I think Eric was going to get out a couple days prior to that. And I thought, I don't want him going with us. Like, I can't even look at his face right now. I'm so mad at him, and he's going to lie to me anyways. And I just want to go and leave. And, you know, I was scared.
This was the second time that I went to jail, and the last time I ever went.
Yeah. Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was scared because I'm like, I don't want to tell him that I canceled his plane ticket and me and the kids are going to go. Because I knew he would try to stop it somehow, some way, you know. Because I always felt bad for him, so maybe I wouldn't have gone or something. So I thought, I need him to stay in there, for one, so me and the kids can get on that plane and go.
Well, I thought it was, I already knew I got taken off of the thing. I was mad. You thought I was going to show up the morning of and still try to go somehow.
Yeah.
And you were asking God, please don't let that happen. And then that's when I got arrested. That's when I went to jail. And you're like, okay, now I know for a fact he's not going to show up.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I just remember you were going to get out before we left. So I wanted to keep you in there, not only for that, but for the simple fact that I've had enough,
Yeah.
and you need to get help because I'm done.
Yeah.
So I wrote the letter to the judge telling him that, you know, this is a great guy and he's just ruining his life taking these pills. He's got a family. I included a picture of, you know, me, him, and the two kids when things were good and we were happy. And I said, please, for my kids, for me, we just want him back. We want him to be normal again. And he needs to stay longer because the rehabs aren't working. The other time he went to jail never worked, and he just keeps going back. So he, thankfully the judge kept him in there a lot longer, and we went on our vacation. But honestly, I think the kids had a good time, but in the back of all of our minds, you know, it was Dad's not here. And I just remember the kids were swimming, and I'm sitting there and I'm just thinking, I feel so alone. Everybody had their family. I'm looking, and Mom and Dad and kids, they're all playing, and I'm alone. And I think that was just the hardest thing for me to go through, was always feeling alone. Every wedding I went to during that time, you know, I'd just cry because I missed my husband so much. You know, anytime I hated going to church by myself, because I would see everybody else with their husband, and I would just miss it so much. But again, God completely stepped in. He was my rock. He was my husband. He would constantly give me words of encouragement when I would read his word. He would send people to give me a word from the Lord. I never felt abandoned from God, not one time. I had strength like I never experienced before, and that built up, you know, that's caused me to be the woman that I am today. You know, I used to be shy, timid. I wouldn't really speak my mind. I was always afraid to go out of my comfort zone, you know, and even though there's still a little bit of that left, you know, I feel like I'm not afraid to speak my mind. I'm not afraid, you know, to be on my own if it ever happened, you know. I think every woman deserves that feeling of being, you know, feeling like if something ever happens, I could make it with me and God. And, you know, I love my husband with all of my heart. But if something ever happened, if he if you died, no matter what, I know that I'm strong enough to take care of my family. And I think that's the greatest gift I've gained from this whole situation. Strength.
Yeah, I could definitely see.
And faith, actually.
Yeah.
Because, you know, this is just a small example, but one day I was really having a hard time trusting that God was just going to work this all out. And I went to work, and I rang somebody up. They were buying an oatmeal, and during that time, we had this thing where you can write an encouraging message on top of the oatmeal container.
At Starbucks.
Yeah, at Starbucks. And this person, she wrote a scripture, and then in big letters she said, "Trust in God." And I thought, okay, you know, and that was the first, in the same day. And another person came in, and she pays for her stuff. When she turns around, she's wearing a hoodie, and on the back, in big letters, it says "Trust." I thought, okay, God, you know, he did that all the time, these little things that just kept me going. He would feed me encouragement every single day. And, you know, I remember people would tell me, because I still cried, I still felt lonely, I still struggled with thinking that he's going to make it through. Like, deep down, I think that's where my faith came in, because my flesh, I felt like, you're never going to make it out. You're never going to change. And during those 2 years, I almost feel like I had this feeling of, this is how my life's going to be. I'm going to be alone, and I'm going to have to be okay with it. And so, you know, I had to have that faith that Eric's going to come out of this. Like, he had such a huge calling on his life, and I had to believe that was going to be fulfilled. And that is what kept me praying for him, fasting for him, and that's what I focused on. Like, you know, all his little words and everything he tried to manipulate me with, I literally would get off the phone and I would go right to prayer. I laid on that floor so many nights crying out for him, and believing that this promise is going to come to pass, and I refuse to believe that he is going to die in sin and leave his family behind. And so, you know, I had to grab a hold of prayer like I never had before, and I did. And I think really that's what saved your life, my plead to God, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, there were times I felt so depressed, and people would tell me, "Danielle, maybe you should talk to a therapist." You know, I thought, maybe you're right, because I'm just really struggling, you know, trying to be happy, trying to keep a smile on my face for the kids, and trying to just maintain everyday life. And so I decided to go ahead and go talk to a therapist. And I remember sitting in that room. Nothing against therapists, I think they're great and they're really beneficial for people. But for me, I was sitting in the waiting room, filling out the form, and it was asking me all kinds of questions. And I thought, I don't think this is for me, you know, because I felt like, I know God's going to take care of this. What am I doing here, you know? And I filled out the form anyway. She called me back. It's a dark room, a couch, of course, and they had this soft music playing, and I just felt so weird being there, you know? And so she asked me what was going on. So I gave her the whole story. I gave her all kinds of examples. And at the end, she looked at me and she's like, "I don't understand. Why are you smiling?" And I thought, I don't know. And I'm like, you know, it's because God. I told the therapist, like, because God, he's the one who just gives me strength to go through this. He's the one who's giving me joy, even though I don't feel it. I truly had joy. I had joy in God. I had joy and faith and trust in God that He was just gonna, if it didn't work out with Him, He was still taking care of me. And that's what I had to come and understand, because I think for so long I would think, well, God, you're not in this if He's not delivered from this. And eventually it came to a point to where I said, He's on His own. I can't change Him. Only God can make the impossible possible for Him. I can't do it anymore. And so when I came to that point and realized, I'm going to be joyful in this trial, that's when I was able to get through it, And so the therapist, she had nothing to say to me. I left. That was the only last time I ever went to see her, because it was pointless. And I just continued to pray. So that's kind of how I was getting through it at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we both came out of that situation different people. And I could tell that you had changed and that you were changing because you were guarded towards me. But the last time we separated, I remember you saying, I love you, Eric. I want you to come out of this, and when you do, I'll be here. And you had never said it to me any other time before. And, at the time, I just, like I said, I was powerless, and it gave me hope,
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think, like, I think I can get through this. But it still took months. I mean, it was still a long time, and it, addiction is very, very selfish. It's always inward. You're always thinking about yourself when it comes to feeding that. But the consequences were always outward and everybody else's fault, and you helped me deal with it, And
it's true.
And that's selfish in its nature anyway.
It's true, and they say that addiction, it's not just your addiction, it becomes everybody else's too, because we're dealing with the lies, the stealing, the whatever it may be,
Manipulations,
all that, and it's so draining. I would feel so drained because, it's an emotional battle, because, you want to believe your loved one, especially, when they're such a great, most addicts, I will say, honestly, they're really great people. They're really great people. And you'll hear that from a lot of people too. Working in the hospital, and I have a lot of friends who have loved ones who have addiction problems, and they say that my loved one is such a great guy or great girl, but they have this problem. And it's so true, because, you were such a great dad, such a great husband. I think that's what hurt the most, because you were such a great guy, and to see that you were doing this and knowing you could die any minute, it just crushed me. That was the worst feeling in the whole world, so.
Yeah. Well, I do want to say, we do have to wrap it up. It's been almost 45 minutes, but the biggest thing that came out of this was my understanding of forgiveness, my understanding of grace and mercy, and a better understanding of guilt and shame. And mercy, grace, guilt, and shame, they don't go together. There's no intersection for them. And in order to fully understand grace and mercy, it means that you have dealt with the guilt and shame of it,
Mm-hmm.
And still to this day, there's still things that pop up here and there, and have these feelings that come out of me and for her.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, this is a couple of years ago, I happened to come across the journal that you had during that time, and it had a red cover. And I remember thinking, I had this red folder that I got from the rehab place, and it had everything that you know, all my tools, things that I would write with. And the Lord told me, it's all under the blood of Christ. And it hit me so hard, and I remember breaking down before him and just telling him, thank you. Not only did he forgive me, but you forgave me as well. And I do appreciate that about you. I love you so much. And I often tell people that the greatest thing you've ever done for me is forgive me. But part of that forgiveness wasn't you just, oh, here, come here. Yeah. It was dealing with things. It was my turn to be selfless, because I had been selfish for so long, you know. So anybody that watches this video, you know, they see us here. It's not edited. This is not fake. It's how we truly felt, and how we still, you know, feel. And the reason why we want to put this out here is because people need hope right now. Mm-hmm. People need encouragement, and people can watch this. You guys can watch this and see that it's two people being honest. We're husband and wife, and we're married. And even though we go to church and have the Holy Ghost, and maybe on the outside look like, you know, a big, normal, happy family, we have problems. We all have gone through something, and we're still here. God is still blessing us and still bringing us closer together. And this is the first time that we have shared this with everybody, the public. And a lot of people that we go to church with will see this. And I want you guys to know, thank you so much for your prayers. Thank you for your support, to my family, to my friends, to everybody that, you know, during that time helped us out. Because without that, without God's love, without His forgiveness, without God's people, without our friends, without our family, we would not be here right now. I wouldn't be alive. We wouldn't be married. And we would not be putting out this video. So please
I will
know.
say that, you know, people who are, you know, not the addict, but the ones who are living, you know, they're scared to leave their loved one, have them move out. You know, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if they're going to die. You know, you just need to gain strength from this video. You know, you need to do what you need to do for yourself. You don't allow that person to continue to take advantage of you, right. You know, and it is scary. It's the scariest thing you're ever going to do, because you're probably going to get told that you don't love the person.
Yeah.
You're going to see a side of that person that you've never seen. But, you know, it's all manipulation. So you just have to, you know, get the strength, ask God for it, because He'll give it to you. He gave it to me. And, you know, separate yourself. It's tough love. I read the book Tough Love, and that really helped me out. Separate yourself, and you just have to come to a point to where you have to let that control go, because you cannot help that person.
Yeah.
And, you know, let God restore, because it's obvious God has restored our marriage. He's restored our family. It took some time, but, you know, after 7-8 years, full restoration.
Yeah.
You know, we've had 2 kids since then. And, you know, we still have struggles, you know,
sure.
But our family's fully restored. We're happier than we've ever been, and it can happen for you. Just pray for your loved one. That's the only thing that you can do, right. And I think that's the only thing that's going to work.
Yeah.
Let God deal with it. That's the only thing that worked.
Yeah.
Not for only for your loved one, but for you as well. And that's what I was going to say. You need to get a support system. If it were not for my support system, I never would have made it through. I probably would have given up, because I was so tired and run down. And you need to have people in your life you can call and say, I'm really struggling today, and allow them to feed you encouragement. I had a wonderful group of people that I could call at any time. I mean, I've had a person come to my house at 2 a.m. because I was so upset. And they came, got me, let me stay at their house. I mean, that's the support system that I had. And you have to have that. So.
Yeah. If anyone that watches this video, if you want to reach out to us through YouTube, through Facebook, and want to just talk, whether you're addicted or going through it with somebody, we would love to pray for you. We'd love to just be your support.
I want to say that something I think that helped both of us is we had a couple who dealt with the same thing. One person had the addiction problem, the other did not. So they knew the ins and outs of addiction. And so...
And it had been 20 years.
And it had been 20 years.
And it's Mike and Anne-Marie Main. Thank you guys.
And they absolutely helped us because I was always in denial. And Eric tried to pull stuff on me all the time.
Yeah.
And so how I was able to realize how deep this addiction was they would always tell me, Danielle, you know, he's being manipulative, or, you know, Mike would always, Eric, you think you're going to pull this? No, you're not pulling this one on me. You know, so they would give it to us how it is. And even though I would say, no, I don't think Eric, they'd say, Danielle, mm-mm. And so they would constantly show me, hey, this addiction is severe, and this is what you need to do. And they helped me step by step, you know, and I'm sure they were tired. I'd call them all the time and talk for hours, but if it was not for them, many other people, I just never would have made it. I would have been in denial. Get help from people who've gone through it, because they will be able to tell you what to do.
Yeah, they won't enable.
They're not gonna allow you to keep enabling that person.
Right.
You know, or if you're the one who's the addicted, you need to realize, hey, you know, stop being selfish. This isn't about you, but get yourself help, because guess what? You're worth it. Nobody's put on this earth to sit here and live in addiction and die to it.
Right.
What a miserable life.
Yeah.
You have purpose, and get help.
Yes, you do.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So if you guys like the video, you know, just subscribe to the Survivors Talk YouTube channel. And we call it Survivors Talk because it's two people that are survivors that are talking about what they survived. Like the YouTube channel, subscribe to it, and there's going to be more videos coming of other people that their testimonies are incredible.
Yeah.
And look forward to it.
It's not just about addiction.
Right.
There's going to be all kinds.
All different kinds.
Walks, you know, death, depression, anger, suicide, losing a loved
divorce.
one.
I mean, a lot of different.
At death's door. I mean.
And it's not all sad and somber stuff.
No,
a lot of it is like.
It's people who have made it through.
Right.
Here they are today going to talk about, you know, how they made it through, what God did in their lives. So many people need to hear about this, you know, and I say, even if you're not dealing with it, it's still encouraging to see that other people are getting through stuff, you know, that seem impossible. So keep watching the videos. Turn on the notifications whenever we put a new video on, then you'll get notified. There's going to be a couple next week, I think.
Yeah,
so
we're working on it. So thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to being able to talk with other people to get their testimonies out there. And like I said before, they're overcomers by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. Without the blood, there is no testimony. Thank you.